Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Toxcast. I've got Anthony back with me, and how are you doing, Anthony?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
We have a big episode here for you. This is actually going to be part one of a part two, uh, basically long diatribe. We will be doing Marilyn Manson. We're going to be doing, for the most part, the first half of his run, and then we'll kind of jump into little bits that like weren't full albums and stuff like that. But then later on down the road, we'll do a second one, which is the later part of his career. So we'll start with you, Anthony. How did you hear of Manson for the first time, and what were some of the first songs or exposure, anything like that?
Well, that's a good question. I first heard about Manson. Actually, I remember hearing about Manson as early as 2003, 2004, because I remember seeing him on TV here and there. Because, sometimes my cousins used to come over and used to watch stuff. And I had family members who were really into Manson. And
Mm.
I was very like we're talking like 5, 6 years old, and at the time, I just thought he kind of looked strange. But I mean, yeah,
You're not wrong.
yeah. I never really like delved into it because I was like, that music's probably not for me, and at that age, and so we, uh, and then I remember over the years, like seeing pictures of him, like into elementary school and middle school. And I thought he was again. Just remember hearing the name, and I remember seeing what he looked like at the time, and I wasn't really, you know, into that kind of music. And I just didn't get Manson at first. It was just kind of like one of
Completely
those,
fair.
yeah, that kind of slipped the radar because I was kind of a sheltered kid, who's the heaviest thing I listened to at the time was Kiss. So go figure. So the first time I ever actually heard Manson's music, I was 14 years old. I tried to find the cassette. I couldn't find it, but it's all right. I went to this record store called what were they called? It was in Pepperland Records, rest in peace.
Hmm.
And they had they had a section where you could buy used cassettes for $1. And, some of them were just like random, you know, dollar bin kind of stuff, no one really care about. And then I looked, and one of the tapes was a cassette dub of Antichrist Superstar and Mechanical Animals in one tape. Although it didn't have the entirety of Mechanical Animals, just like 80% of it.
I have the faintest memory of you talking about this on your episode, but keep going.
Yes, I remember. So I remember I was like, oh, Marilyn Manson, this sounds pretty cool. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So, I had a really kind of dud kind of Sony Walkman kind of tape player. And I listened to Antichrist Superstar. I hit play, and I knew it was going to be heavy because, I've heard it was pretty heavy from what my mom told me because my mom knew about my cousins and them listening to Manson, but she wasn't really a fan either. But then I listened to Antichrist Superstar, and I mentioned this before, but the moment I heard the intro to uh, Irresponsible Hate Anthem
Hmm.
was it was not just a punch in the face, it was a whole kick to my entire body. And I fell in fucking love. And then I kept hearing it. I would hear a song and then I would constantly replay it and replay it because I liked it so much. And I would listen to the entire thing. And then I also heard Mechanical Animals on the tape, which was different, but I still really liked it until it ended, of course. And then after that, I just really became a huge fan. Um, I remember also at the time, I never seen him live, unfortunately, but I did, I do remember something particularly after that. I remember the first time taping an interview from him on TV. I still have the tape on VHS. Do you remember when he was on The Talking Dead?
Was it with Norman Reedus? Because I know he was on Norman Reedus's like motorcycle show. But I didn't actually watch Talking Dead all that much. I watched The Walking Dead, yes, but I almost never watched it because I didn't have cable. So I
Mhm.
almost never watched it like live. So I would wait till like the day after and then pirate it because I'm a bad person. So yeah, almost never watched The Talking Dead. So I've never seen him on it.
Okay. He was kind of on it. I don't think he understood what the show was about. But I remember he was also with Jack Osborne on the same show. This
Oh,
was
yep.
2013. So, and then I just, I kept delving into his discography and listened to all sorts of albums, even throughout the years. And just, I realized, how much great music he made. And, you know, I have to thank that one bootleg cassette that I found for it. And I've been a fan ever since. So, yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes. Like a little bootleg cassette tape, one song on a sampler CD. Like I couldn't tell you how many bands I got into because they were on like a compilation or something. They used to do this CD they sold in, I think, Hot Topic called Metal for the Masses. And this was back when like early 2000s. Like I knew who Cradle of Filth was at the time, but like a lot of the more extreme bands, I didn't know who they were. So like getting stuff like that, and it was like when Arch Enemy and In Flames and Soilwork were starting to like become more known in the United States. Like they'd been known for years in Europe, but like they were starting to become a little bit more known over here. And like all the bands that like were kind of in that circle, and then like more extreme bands. Like that's the first time I ever heard like Christian and Darkane and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so though like that was a big exposure to me like early on. Like so yeah, I never overlooked that stuff. Like it's great to like even nowadays, like I haven't bought a compilation. I couldn't tell you how long. And I probably won't buy anyone anytime soon, but they're good for people just getting into music. Like like I cannot stress it enough. Um like because it gives you like it's just like a little sampler pack for your ears, and if you like something, hey, go. It's even easier on Spotify nowadays. You like the one song, like okay, cool, click the artist name and go listen to an album, see how it goes.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way, especially now with YouTube and all,
Yeah,
how,
it's never been easier to like deep dive into stuff. Like there's way too much music. I'm never going to hear all the music I want to listen to. Too much.
yeah,
And
same.
that's okay. My first exposure is twofold actually. Um because the first proper song that like I heard and it registered was the Dope Show. But that wasn't the first time I ever saw Manson. The first time I ever saw Manson was back in 97 on
Okay.
an episode of Beavis and Butthead when they showed the Long Hard Road Out of Hell video. And for life of me, I didn't remember the music at the time, but I just remember watching the video and going, what the hell is this? who's this man woman? I don't know what this is. It's scary. Because at the time I was listening to like Fastball and Smash Mouth. Like,
A Smash Mouth. Yeah.
I love that first Smash Mouth album. Um, but yeah, so that was the first real exposure I had to Manson. I had heard the name in ever briefly. Like I as well was slightly sheltered in the fact that like uh I had friends, but in hindsight, no friends ever showed me music they listened to except for one, and it was all like mainstream pop and like rap music. So that was the only real exposure I had from a friend. So that was the stuff I knew. Like I didn't have any friends who listened to rock music who showed me anything. So I didn't know. I still remember some kid coming to school with a white zombie shirt in like sixth grade. I was like, what is that? Like I thought it was a cartoon because of how they used to stylize the artwork.
Mhm.
But yeah, Dope Show was the first thing I heard that registered. And I didn't really know what to make of it at first. I just knew it was really catchy. And in this was also a time where this is ninth grade. So this was 14-year-old John in high school who really didn't have many friends, trying to find an identity. So Manson really worked for me because it like I felt different liking Manson because it was at that time where it was the weird kids liked Manson. So I was like, oh well, that's how I'll like shape my identity was I'll like the weird guy. And slowly through that, like I got a hold of Mechanical Animals and I listened to it regularly, loved it. So it became more less of a oh I'm doing this as a shock thing and more of like oh no I actually really like this. And then I got Antichrist Superstar and that was a whole other thing. Much like you, the first time I heard Irresponsible Hate Anthem, I was like, oh, this guy's very angry. It's very that was the most aggressive music I had heard up until that point. Like I was like and like I didn't I didn't know how to take to screaming yet, but I was into it and like that was my first taste. And then a weird one, the third grouping of the third selection of music I got from Marilyn Manson was a kid I had befriended in high school who burned made me a cassette tape of his Spooky Kids demos. So
Really?
I heard Spooky Kid stuff in like 1998 on a cassette tape. Now I could not tell you at this point if it was an actual like set record like one of their demos like just recorded onto cassette tape or if it was a variety of things. The
Mhm.
only things I can remember from I can remember four songs from it. I wish I still had it, but I can remember hearing this was before I heard Portrait. So I heard Cake and Sodomy, I heard Dope Hat, I heard Strange Same Dogma, and I heard Dune Buggy. So those were the four I heard that I can remember. There was probably other stuff on there, but those are the ones I latched onto. But yeah, and that was my start with Manson, and I refused to stop.
That's good. Very good.
So we'll just jump right from there into the we'll start with the beginning. We'll start with the Spooky Kids era. What are your feelings towards that era at this point?
Okay. I actually have a lot to say about the Spooky Kids.
Mhm.
And because when I first heard like about Manson doing my research, I didn't know that they had started in Florida. So it was kind of interesting to know that they weren't from Los Angeles and actually from like, Fort Lauderdale or whatever they're from and making that kind of music. And, Fort Lauderdale, I actually have an aunt who lives there, or at least near there, excuse me. Um, and it's a very like kind of like I don't know how to describe the area, but it's very kind of I wouldn't say it's like super like nothing goes on there, but like there's kind of a minor scene in Florida, but it's there, but it's not like as huge as like say in New York or California or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, listening to the Spooky Kids and seeing all these pictures and all these videos of the Spooky Kids, what they were doing at this time. I've even seen like some of the earliest like concerts that they did, and it's funny to see them like Manson with long hair with eyebrows and
Yeah.
uh and like wearing regular clothes. I was just like, really? This was Manson? uh and they made a and I didn't know that they had a different guitarist at the time who was actually one of the co-founders of the band, Daisy.
Yeah.
And so I really, really enjoy the Spooky Kids a lot and just that era because unfortunately I sort of feel like it's been I wouldn't say forgotten, but it's definitely a of extremely underrated era of Manson.
Yeah, and it also like that era and like Portrait of an American Family. That was a very distinct sound that kind of evaporated by the time an Antichrist Superstar came around.
Very much so. Very much so. Like you could definitely hear like some of the stuff that they were trying to do on some of the demos that later ended up on Portrait, and I could tell they were some of the members wanted to kind of keep the whole thing going on when Antichrist
Yeah.
was being recorded, but that was they kind of wanted that was the start when Manson wanted to evolve into other things, which bands evolve, I understand, but there is something really special about those demos. If, as a matter of fact, interestingly enough, it wasn't until maybe a week or two ago, and I just found this out that the very, 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 very first demo of Marilyn Manson actually surfaced in full for the first time, the Rawbones Psalms.
Yeah, I believe we were talking about this. Um yeah, and that is super cool. Like I'm trying to think if I've heard. Oh yeah, yeah. Is it entirely uploaded yet?
It has been,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, cuz I remember hearing at least part of it and it was weird to hear those songs untouched
Hmm.
because you've heard those versions of those songs on like the compilations that Daisy had put out and stuff like that, where they were like adjusted and remastered and stuff like that. But to hear them in their like original raw form was very interesting.
Hmm. For sure. Had Out of curiosity, have you actually heard the first song that they ever recorded as a band?
Is it Telephone?
No.
Uh, what's the first song?
I think it was Styrofoam Rap or something like that. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't know if I've ever heard that.
It was Daisy put it when Daisy was doing shows, solo shows back in 2011, he would sell like CDRs of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which I've never actually seen in person or anywhere. But he recorded a or he they recorded this was in January of 1990, so they had just started. They had a styrofoam rap, and it was Manson just rapping like a goofball, like and
Sounds terrible.
exactly. And it was so funny. And then the other song was All Fall Down. That was
All
like,
Fall Down, I've heard.
okay.
Yeah,
That was like,
Styrofoam Rap, I don't think I've heard.
okay, I gotta send you that one because it's actually pretty brilliant. Uh, and then, but anyway, going back to the demos, the early stuff, yeah, I really, really enjoy. I think my favorite demo from the Spooky Kids era like as a whole demo tape would probably either be, oh, there's so many great ones. I mean, the Lunchbox demo is pretty great. You know, Gristo Line, Big Black Bus is another good one. Uh, I really, really like the Manson Family Jams demo. That's really good. There was supposed to be a demo for Thrift, but that never came out. They had a whole thing for it, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I really, especially it's. I don't know why it's. So, I guess I could have. I'd have. Excuse me. I guess I could sort of understand how there's not much live footage of the Spooky Kids from like the very early days because no one knew that they were going to get as big as they are. But I've noticed slowly recently that there has been sort of live footage of the Spooky Kids
There's some
live.
bit. There's been some reasonable quality footage that's popped up. Like to my surprise, I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. This is watchable instead of like some scratched up like fourth rate VHS tape. But
Hmm.
it's been nice to see. Like I I love their old weird setup with the weird lamps on the stage. Just they literally went to a thrift store, grabbed a bunch of stuff, and threw it up on the stage. Uh, what was it? Portrait era where they started doing the baby crib, or was that in Spooky Kids era?
It was Spooky Kids.
Okay, yeah, because I can visualize like that like early 90s living room setting of like those dull bulb lamps. I can visualize uh the the crib and like the baby dolls and all that sort of stuff. Like not it must have been crazy to see that stuff in the early 90s. Like, oh, okay. Like I don't know what you're doing, but it worked.
Hmm. Especially, I think the earliest video I've seen of them is not what some people are probably thinking of. I know what they're probably going to mention, but it's actually something you can find separately. I think it was a video from like, oh geez, this is before they had Gidget Guide
Oh,
or whatever,
okay.
and they had I think it was, uh, or maybe they had just gotten him. I don't know, but Pogo. It was before even Pogo even had a synthesizer or whatever. So Pogo in the very early days would just be on stage playing with toys, and they
Oh,
would just
okay.
uh, who was their first bassist before Gidget? I know it was. Do you remember? It was. I forgot
What
his name.
there's there's this name that's on the tip of my tongue. It's not Spec.
No,
Um
real quick.
and my brain keeps trying to say Sarah Lee Lucas, but he was the drummer. Um
Uh, Kind of cheating a little bit, but
that's fine.
oh, Olivia Newton Bundy.
Oh god, I haven't thought of that name in a long time. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, Olivia Newton Bundy. That was the first bassist, and then they got Gidget. Yeah, it seems like unfortunately the majority of the early stuff, and then eventually later on in like 1991 or 91, 92, that's when you could see a lot more footage of the band. You
Yeah,
know,
and that was also when they started to kind of come into their own. Like it wasn't just throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Like they were starting to find kind of hone their sound a little bit and like build up to what would become the like the first iteration of Marilyn Manson proper.
hmm
I'm
uh,
uh I'm actually kind of a bad Manson fan because I don't think I've ever actually listened to one of the demos in its proper order. I've just had those songs assorted for 20 plus years. So I don't know if I've ever actually listened to the proper like I don't think I've ever listened to Big Black Bus start to finish. Although I know I've heard all the songs on it. Same with all the other ones. Like I've heard all the songs. It's just listening to them in order. Never been my thing.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite Spooky Kids songs?
-3.
Mhm.
Chocolate Factory, Dune Buggy I like a lot. Um I want to like White Knuckles, but there's something about it that is unpleasant to me, and I'm not quite sure what it is. Um, I did I say Doom Buggy? I love the old version of Dogma. Uh, I'm trying to think of other ones that like weren't. I'm trying to think of non-portrait ones. Um, IVTV I like. Learning to Swim I like. She's Not My Girlfriend I really like. Although the chorus kind of sucks, but the rest of the song's really good. And I think those are what I'm going to go with.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Even some songs that were kind of unfinished, I really liked, like Chalkboard Girl. Uh, I can't think of the name right now, but there was some stuff that, just were only instrumental and never really finished. Uh, I think, what was another one of my favorite? Oh, Scaredy Cat. That was another
Yeah.
great song.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. I like Scaredy Cat. Insect Pins is a weird one. I like that one.
That was another great one.
Oh, and
Unfortunately,
we mentioned it, but Thrift. Thrift is really good.
Thrift is top five easily.
Yeah, I actually think I would put it in my top 5 as well. Filth is also pretty good, but Thrift takes it.
100% for sure.
So, taking from there, let's lead into Portrait of an American Family. Now, that came out in 94. It had 3 music videos, Dope Hat, Lunchbox, and Get Your Gun. And this saw Manson not only tour with Danzig in a ill-fated tour that he talks about in his book. It was part of the self-destruct tour with Nine Inch Nails,
Mhm.
and this led right into Smells Like Children's, like his solo tour. But Portrait, let's what are your feelings on that album?
All right, so I went from Antichrist to uh, Mechanical Animals to Portrait,
Yeah.
and I really, I remember seeing the cover for like Portrait, and I just thought, and like the images and the promotion, and I just thought it looked so different from later on, and I thought it looked almost primitive, almost.
It's got
I
a
mean,
it's got an evil goofy look to it. Like it's got an it's like how the Tool videos where they use the claymation is
yes.
like kind of childish looking but also a little unsettling.
Mhm.
That kind of reminds me of like portraits imagery and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have a really good point, and I definitely agree. Uh, yeah, this album, uh,
Which one had Down in the Park on it? Is that the Lunchbox single?
yes, it is.
Fucking love that cover. So
Uh,
good.
yeah, uh, Down the Park. Uh, and this is the one with Revelation number 9
Yeah,
of
and there's the long remix of Get Your Gun. Mother Inferior got her gun.
correct.
And then Lunchbox had Brown Bag and Metal, I think.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, because I did. God, Manson and Nine Inch Nails were some of the only bands I ever got singles for. Because they were just so kind of cool at the time.
Mhm.
And Nine Inch Nails especially always just threw extra songs on there, and Manson would occasionally throw extra songs in there too.
Hmm. Yeah. But
But
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, this whole album is just amazing. Let's see. Cake and Sodomy, a prelude, the intro. Great tracks, and I'm actually surprised and it's pretty interesting to hear all the samples that they used for
Yeah,
this album. I really love the samples that they use, especially when you hear like some of it and watch it. It's like it's pretty cool. Like some of it obviously is from obscure movies.
I didn't realize up until recently that there's a sample at the end of Misery Machine before it goes into what's the bonus thing in Misery Machine? Is it just noise? It's been so long since I've listened to the actual end of it, but it's the lady yelling. It's like, "Go home to your mother. She
Mhm.
never loved," like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't realize that was from a movie.
Hmm.
Like I thought it was like some sort of voicemail or something. But no, then I saw the clip for the movie. I was like, oh, that's real.
Yeah, Desperate Living, I think that was the name of the movie. John Waters.
Yeah, I've never actually watched the movie, but like I'm interested to see it, mostly based off that sample.
It's uh it's a weird movie to say the least because it's
I
John Waters, but
I gathered that from the little I watched.
yeah, but I still love it. Um, let's see, but yeah, Lunchbox, of course, the music video for Lunchbox is amazing. I like to also talk about the music videos as well
Yeah,
because the music videos that they made are so fantastic, you know. Well, the first two were made in '94, and of course, Dope Hat was made in '95.
oh, Dope Hat was the last one.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Dope Hat is my favorite of those music videos. Lunchbox is second, and I don't think I've watched the Get Your Gun video in probably 20 years. Um, but I remember it being fine. I just
It was
haven't
good.
seen it. Uh, but yeah, no, I loved the visuals of those music videos. Like especially the Dope Hat, like the whole Wonka thing, all for it. I also want to know if he got permission to do the spoken word intro thing.
I don't know. That's a really good question.
I imagine he probably could have gotten away with it, but as he got more popular, maybe somebody would have called him on it.
Mhm. Someone at Warner Brothers or
Like,
whatever.
hey,
He actually sort of got in trouble for or I don't know if it was him he got in trouble for, but he wasn't allowed to use specific samples. And we'll get more into it when we do for Smells Like Children, the original version.
there's like abuse part 1 and 2. Um, is this the one where there's something that had to do with Charles Manson that got taken off one of the albums? Is it this album or is it Smells Like Children?
I think it was Smells Like Children.
Okay. Yeah, because I can't remember if it was a sample or a cover, and I know he eventually did Sick City, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh Portrait of American Family still to this day has some of my favorite Manson songs on it.
Mhm.
Um Not all of them, but Wrapped in Plastic, Misery Machine, Dogma, Dope Hat, um, Organ Grinder I like a lot too. Lunchbox I didn't like for the longest time.
Really?
I liked it at first, and then there was a switch that happened at some point, and I didn't like it. And then I came back around to it, and now I love the song. But yeah, I don't know what it was. There was something that switched in me where I was like, I don't like the song. But now I do love it. And the slow plodding Sweet Tooth. I love that song. But yeah, it's a really strong album, and the only one I skip on that album is probably My Monkey. I'm all good. I've heard that song so many times in my life. I don't need to hear it again. It's
Yeah, when you
fun, but I'm good.
right, when you're like me and editing all these like Manson shows, which I'll get into later on, uh, with like hearing the same song over and over again, yeah, you would get tired of it too, I'd
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, I think the only two on the album that I like regularly kind of avoid is My Monkey and maybe Get Your Gun, just because I've heard them so many times.
Hmm. Another one that's really good that was actually supposed to be the main single of this was Snake Eyes and Sissies.
That is a weird choice for a single,
I know, but they ended up going with Get Your Gun.
which is the smarter play. Like I can't Snake Eyes and Sissies is one of the least likely singles on that album to me. Like I would have shoved Dogma out there before I did or Organ Grinder. Um maybe I think the least likely ones for me, like that would have made no sense, is Snake Eyes and Sissies. My Monkey would have been hilarious as a single, but it would have not done well.
No,
Um, but or Cyclops. I don't think Cyclops would have done well.
no,
But I think most of the rest, I think Misery Machine actually would have worked. Like it's got enough of a driving like a drive to it. I think Misery Machine could have worked.
100%. And especially some of the live videos from this tour are really fantastic. Uh, I really like the whole setup they had with the candy canes and all the stuff. And that's when they started to really change into what we sort of knew Manson later on. Like Manson started to paint his ribs. You could see him get a lot more tattoos. It
Mm.
was the beginning of the eye contacts, which were pretty cool,
Yeah.
and him painting his lips red, whatever. And uh and all the other bit. And it was also the beginning of Twiggy being in the band, which, he did play on this album. It was Gidget.
Oh, I don't think I ever actually knew that.
Really?
Did he join for Smells Like Children? Because I swear he's in the video for Sweet Dreams.
Who, Gidget or Twiggy?
Twiggy.
Yeah, Twiggy joined actually in the very beginning of 94.
Okay, so I wasn't imagining that he's in the video for Dope Hat.
No,
Okay. All right, cool. I was like, I
because
swear I saw Twiggy and Dope Hat. But they
and
all a lot of them had braids at the time, so maybe I was wrong.
yeah, and actually, since we're on the subject of Gidget, I'll even throw this in as a discussion piece. I don't know if you ever actually heard Gidget's solo work.
I have seen that album cover so many times. I've listened to like two songs and I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, with the font and everything, you can kind of tell that he was trying to kind of capitalize on
Yeah.
portrait stuff, and it works to a point.
Yeah,
But
it's not bad, but yeah, it wasn't something that really pulled at me.
right, right. I kind of wish that he did a lot more stuff because Gidget is to me. I mean, he's a really great bass player.
Yeah,
Twiggy could.
the bass lines in later Spooky Kids and like Portrait are really good. Like I love the bass on that album.
Mhm, for sure. Yeah. So if any of you are interested, yeah, just check out Gidget Dean Confessions of a Spooky Kid, Dallygaggers. Anyway, back to Manson. Yeah. So yeah, I think my favorite show from the Portrait era going to it would probably be, I don't know. I would say either Texas 95
That
or,
I
huh?
was gonna say Texas 95 blew me away the first time I watched it. I was like, there's a good quality Portrait live show. This is crazy. And I watched the whole thing like three times. I'm like, huh, really good.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the only times they played White Knuckles live. I think one of the last times they played White Knuckles live.
Yeah, that was one of those songs that seemed like it was being prepped for Smells Like Children, and just it didn't happen.
Hmm. So yeah, I really do like the Portrait era, and I think a lot more Manson fans should give it a chance, and just to really see sort of like the evolution of how Manson would become later on. Especially, I think actually come to think of it, I think you know, I swear to this day that my uncle, because my uncle mentions to me that he saw Nine Inch Nails in 1994.
Oh, so you think he might have seen Manson too?
I kept asking him about it, but he mentions he doesn't remember Manson. So either A, he probably didn't see Nine Inch Nails with Manson, or he probably just skipped Manson, or B, C, probably saw Manson. He just probably just forgot about it.
Yeah, it didn't affect him at all.
Right. So yeah, Portrait's a really, really solid CD for sure.
I know some people who the only Manson album they like is Portrait of an American Family.
Really?
Yep. There's a few who are like, I don't like anything after Portrait of an American Family. And because of the style shift, I kind of get it. Like these are the same people who liked only noise rock era White Zombie. Like
Yeah.
everything pre Les La Sesorcisto. So like I get it. Like it's just a different taste.
Hmm.
But I do get like I can understand why somebody would like Portrait and not like Antichrist or Mechanical. Like
Hmm.
because of the difference in sound.
Yeah. It's a very different style for sure. I agree. I still
So
love it.
yeah, no, I love it and I will always love it.
Hmm.
Smells Like Children. The album that's not an album.
Correct.
Yeah, I was I was severely disappointed when I got this. Um because I thought it was an album, like a full album. And then come to find out it's a bunch of remixes, three covers, and a lot of sound effects and samples. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, oh okay. Um, have you were you aware that the uh I can't remember. I think it was Manson who wanted Sweet Dreams to be the single, but the label didn't want Sweet Dreams to be the single.
I heard about that too.
They wanted I Put a Spell on You to be the single,
Hmm.
which I love that cover. I don't think that was, I think that was a really good move by Manson putting his feet down and being like, no, this should be the single because that
Hmm.
was their break.
It was. And I think it's a really great way to, get, uh, get your get the name out there because it sure did a lot of promotion when it came out for sure. I remember it was in movies. Sweet Dreams was well, it was in a couple of movies, I think.
Yeah. And it got used a lot like later on. Like I see that in YouTube TikToks on a regular basis.
Oh,
I didn't mean YouTube TikToks, but shorts. Um, but essentially the same thing. Uh, but yeah, I see Sweet Dreams get used a lot. And I Put a Spell on You was used in something Lost Highway.
yes, the Lost Highway soundtrack.
Okay. Um, I think I think they should have done a video for I Put a Spell on You, but I'm fine with Sweet Dreams should have been the lead single, hands down.
Hmm. Did you actually see? I don't know if you saw it, but it wasn't until like maybe a month or two ago that the director's cut of Sweet Dreams, the music video, came out.
I did see that. Um, I have a story about this.
Sure.
So I like that music video a lot, and I had not seen it in a long time, and I'm pretty uh, what's the word? I'm not bothered by things anymore. Like it takes a lot to affect me. And that's not a brag. Like I'm constantly looking for things to like freak me out or scare me. That's why I
Mhm.
constantly watch horror movies and I'm disappointed. Um, but I there was a couple of days I had off, and I decided, what would be a really good idea is if I have an edible and then I just watch music videos on my TV. So I did. And I was kind of scrolling through stuff and I was watching stuff and I was like, oh, this is great, great. Somehow, some way that popped up in my feed. Like the director's cut smells like of Sweet Dreams. And I was like, oh, I'll watch this. I haven't watched this Sweet Dreams video in so long. I was so bothered by the end of the video where I was like, oh, I didn't like that at all. I don't feel good. Like I was telling my friend, my buddy about it. I was like, my brain was clearly gone because yeah, it bothered me to a point where I was like, oh, but like I've gone back and rewatched it and like, I'm like, yeah, no, it's just a Sweet Dreams video. It's fine. It's just in that mindset, it fucked with me and I didn't appreciate it. But yeah, I love because that's the video where and it was specific parts of the video that bothered me. And I think there were specific parts of the video that kind of got me when I was younger, like much younger when I first saw the video, is the where he's all green in like the segue parts. That like does something to me. I don't know what it is. Um, and then there's a couple other shots that are like unsettling to me in a way. And so I
Mhm.
think just in that state, it dug something up. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love that video. And I'm so happy that the director's cut is out now. Like the full-fledged one.
Right, because for years and years, I remember because I follow a shit ton of Matt's fan pages and groups and stuff, and they would post pictures from like behind the scenes or whatever from the Sweet Dreams video, and I remember people mentioning, oh, there was a director's cut, but it's actually lost. And so I always wondered for years, years, years what it was. And it was actually just the screenshots from those pictures put into the video
Oh,
for the most part.
fair enough.
But it was still pretty cool. Well, there were some alternate shots for sure that I haven't seen before.
It's YouTube has been a wonderful thing, despite all its negatives, because
Hmm.
there's been stuff that was I remember searching for years that just didn't exist and nobody ever put it out. Like what the hell's a Sister Machine Gun? They did that Burn song for the Mortal Kombat soundtrack
Hmm.
and there was a video for it. The video was never anywhere to be found. And it turns out it was because the director used a remix of the song to for the video and the band didn't really like it so they didn't want it put out so they didn't. And then I think within the last couple of years it actually got posted and it's like, oh my god, this exists.
Yeah.
um just like that, the Machines of Love and Grace song video for Richest Junkie Still Alive, I wanted that for the longest time. I knew it existed but nowhere to be found. That now exists on there. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that, and it's really cool to see it all start coming to light. But yeah, uncover more things, post it all. I don't care if it's crap. I want to see it. Show me.
Hmm.
It's been like 25 years. Just post it all.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah, there's some Manson unrealized projects that, to my understanding,
Where's the
still.
Hollywood book?
Yes. Where's hold on? Where's Jets of the World and God is in the TV on DVD? I had to make my own.
Uh, I was I was gonna say I was like those didn't come on DVD.
Yeah, these are DVD-Rs. I'll talk about these.
I would have had those because I had the VHS tapes.
Yeah,
But
same.
I remember being, we'll get to it, but I remember being so disappointed when I got the Guns, God, and Government uh, DVD. Because I was like, oh, it doesn't have any of the backstage stuff. This kind of
Mhm.
sucks. Um, because like all the other ones were like intertwined and stuff. It was really fun. But yeah, that I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get. Uh, but yeah, I really enjoy "Smells Like Children." This is when Manson, the band, really came into their own. It was the introduction of Ginger Fish to
Oh,
the
okay.
band after who was I want to say it was Sarah Lee
Yeah,
Lucas.
Sarah Lee Lucas played on Portrait.
Okay, yeah, he left. And they got Ginger, and this would be the final time Daisy would be in. Well, Daisy played on Antichrist, but he wasn't on the tour.
Yeah,
But this,
he has writing credits on it, but yeah, he wasn't on the final versions of those songs. He yeah. Is he even credited on the album?
I think so.
Okay. But yeah, this is the end of the road for Daisy, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Because we've talked about it. I would love to hear proper, fully produced versions of Daisy doing some of those Antichrist songs. Like I would have liked it because like that was the last remnants of Portrait. Like him holding on to that sound.
Hmm. I hear different stories. I hear people say that the master tapes for Antichrist Superstar still exist, and Trent still has them, or Manson still has them. And I've also heard the same story that they're completely destroyed and lost.
They were part of that flood, I think, where Nothing Records ended up underwater. Like they're in because Trent used to have the Nothing Records label house in New Orleans, and New Orleans had a bad flood, and the Nothing Records studio and everything ended up flooded, and yeah, a lot of stuff got lost.
That
And I'm pretty
sucks.
sure Antichrist was amongst that.
That really sucks.
At least that's what I've been told. Is that true? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, who knows about that? But yeah,
Uh,
tell me more about Smooth Like Children. Some of the remixes are pretty funny. Some of it's like kind of weird. Like
I like the slow version. Is it Diary of a Dope Fiend?
yeah.
And I will stand by the fact that Kitty Grinder is better than Organ Grinder.
You know what? I agree.
It's so menacing. It's I love that remix. I can do without Dance of Dope Hats and Everlasting Cocksuckers fine. Um is that the last remix? Is it just those four?
Yeah, that's white trash. That doesn't count.
No.
Um, yeah, I think the Dance of the Dope House would be the last remix.
Yeah, that one's fun, but yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, that probably could have been more meant for like a weird remix, like a single or something. But
Yeah. Yeah, you could have released like a you could have just released a Dope Hat single
mhm.
and put
which
those on.
which I heard there was a Dope Hat single, but it was only promotional only. They
Yeah,
only had
no, I believe that. Yes, I believe you are right. Um, Much in the same way, there are like Manson has a few other songs that were just promotional. Like I'm pretty sure there's a promotional single for both Coma White and Man That You Fear.
yes.
Okay. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just like the song and maybe a radio edit, but nothing else.
Mhm. And then of course I love the Patti Smith cover on here.
Yeah, yeah, it's a. I didn't know that was a cover the first time I heard it.
Yeah,
And then, but yeah, diving back, and then American Head Charge would cover it as well later on.
that's
But
true.
uh, but yeah, it was a live staple for a long time. He played it once when I saw him. I believe in '01. I
Yeah.
I think it was part of the Ozfest show I saw. Because he
Okay.
definitely didn't do it during the Golden Age show. But but yeah, I'm pretty sure he did it during Ozfest '01. But yeah, it's a for what it is, it's good. If you look at it, if you look at it for what it is, it's fine. Like it's an EP with a bunch of bullshit on it.
Mhm. I really love the live footage of the tour from this. This is when they were really starting to. I mean, I think this tour would have been the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I believe Manson, got a bottle, like a broken bottle, and decided to cut himself with it.
Yeah, he used to do it during Sweet Dreams.
Yep, that
Um,
was
and this was also the first proper headlining tour that he did.
correct. Do you remember who they played with during this tour?
No, that it was no. I'm thinking of Jim Rose Circus, but that was during the Self Destruct tour. I don't know.
I think it was a variety of people. I can think of one when they were in the East Coast. There was this I mentioned them. Well, I think I posted live videos on my other channel of them. There was this girl rock band called the Lunatics
I've heard that name.
that they played
Would
with a little bit.
they have toured with Jack Off Jill at this point?
You know what? That was another one. Yes, I think so.
Okay, because I definitely couldn't see them touring with him during the Antichrist run, but Smells Like Children, I could see it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think my favorite show from the Smells Like Children era, if you were to give me one, I would say I think it was either Sacramento or San Francisco or one of those where they had the giant Ouija board in the back.
That's a very cool visual. Like I've seen little bits of videos of that. Like I very much like that. And I'm still disappointed that they never I know they turned Smells Like Children into Kinderfeld, but I liked Smells Like Children.
Yes, that should have ended up on Smells Like Children. I don't understand why they.
Yeah, like I think that version I like Kinderfeld, but I like that version more. I think it has more to it. Um, but then what would he have gotten on stilts to?
Good point. Good point.
He could have picked one of the other ones.
Yeah, and it was also the first time on demos. It was either I think it was actually Portrait, but I think they started to play it live during this time. Was uh Irresponsible Hate Anthem.
Yeah, they tested it out, and there's been long-standing debates about when Irresponsible Hate Anthem was actually conceived. Because the dates, it's listed somewhere as they recorded Irresponsible Hate Anthem and Born Again at the same show, but it doesn't make any sense because the show is listed as 1997. And we all know Antichrist Superstar came out in 1996. So
Mhm.
how does that work? You
Mhm.
time traveling demons.
Yeah. And I think even Antichrist Superstar was recorded as early as 94.
Oh, the title track?
Yeah.
I can I can understand there being an early version of that. There's I wish I still had them. I used to have a couple of bootlegs, and one of the bootlegs was from the tail end of the Smells Like Children tour,
Hmm.
where they tried out Irresponsible Hate Anthem and an unfinished Beautiful People.
That's right.
And there wasn't much crowd reaction for either. But yeah, it was weird hearing the early version of Beautiful People because like you could tell it was not finished. They were just
No,
trying it out.
correct. It's kind of like when you hear like I think I have a bootleg of a something from the Portrait era of them testing out Sweet Dreams.
Yeah. They did it. They did it at the Portrait release show. I remember they did a bunch of covers.
Hmm.
And I think that might have been one of the first times they did it. But yeah, like the early version of Sweet Dreams was like it hadn't grown to its full potential yet.
Mm, correct. Now that and before we get on to the next album, I also want to mention, and I was going to mention to talk to earlier. Uh, this album was originally supposed to come out earlier than it was. I think it was supposed to come out in like September or because it came out, I believe, in October of '98 or '95. And there were some samples that they used, like the Willy Wonka samples, and of course the Abuse tracks, which are only found on super, super, super early promotional copies of Smells Like Children. And it got bootleg to hell.
Yeah. Yeah, it has another name. It starts with a P. Am I thinking of it right?
Uh, there's the
Fa-
uncut bootleg.
it's like it's not pharmacopoeia. It's damn it. It's a like fleeting memory thing. But yeah, no, I've heard the extra things that needed to be taken out, which I don't get, but fine, whatever.
Hmm.
Copyright. Some people don't want like their copyrights used, and probably at this time, Manson was just getting enough of momentum where maybe some people didn't want to be associated. But
Hmm.
but yeah, it sucks when stuff like that happens. It holds up the whole process, but it worked out in the end.
Sure did. Uh, yeah, I still enjoy the CP and I listen to it to this day from time to time. Still a great EP, and it was what got Manson in the mainstream. Well, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, no, this was his push. Um, but yeah, and then going from that to Antichrist Superstar, which to this day, like I don't pick a favorite album. Mechanical Animals and Antichrist Superstar for me are side by side. Those are my two favorite albums for Manson, and I'm not going to pick one of the over the other because they're two very different vibes.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Antichrist Superstar. This had The Beautiful People. It had Tourniquet. It had Antichrist Superstar, and it had Man That You Fear as music videos. Um, and yeah, all were lovely. I don't remember if I know Tourniquet and Beautiful People were both on the radio. I do not remember if Antichrist Superstar and Man That You Fear were, but I know they've had music videos. And the Antichrist one was unreleased for a. That's another one that like just kind of popped up in YouTube world, like the that video. Um, but yeah, Beautiful People blew up and skyrocketed Manson to mainstream like super success. He played it at the Video Music Awards in 1997 or 8. No, 1997 because 98 he did Dope Show. Um and Tourniquet did pretty well as well, and both music videos, especially Tourniquet, super stylistic, super like creepy imagery and stuff like that. Uh, Beautifully done. And then Man That You Fear is more story driven as a video, but still very cool. Um, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Antichrist Superstar?
This right here to me is sort of like the best Manson album by far, and I don't think he's ever topped this since. Because it was so one of those albums that you had to have sort of I don't know, I wouldn't say be there because obviously it was before my time slightly, uh but just being listening to it and being in that sort of atmosphere when you, especially because I listened to it when I had a headphones, and it's one of those albums that it's great listening to on headphones because you get to hear all the different things, all the different sounds, all the different instruments they use. It really, really, really adds to it. And I think this album especially is in my sort of, I would call him his magnum opus
I
very
could
much.
understand that.
And this is when he was like, okay, I this is Marilyn Manson right here, and it's just every, I think this is one of those examples. I've mentioned it before, but it's very much a perfect album, in my opinion. There isn't a single bad song on it. Even some songs that I've heard multiple times, I still listen to it.
The I also I want to state I stand corrected. There's a fifth music video. I forgot about it. Cryptoshid has a video.
Correct.
Um, doesn't need to have one. That's my least favorite song on the album. But it's yeah, this is a top tier album, and it's one of those albums that you have to, it's not held up by its like singles. Like you need to experience, it's an album you need to experience front to back. Like it's really really good. Like it's, and it has a whole like loosely arcing story. I know it's propped up a little bit more after the next two albums, but like there is a story there. Um and yeah, it is a masterclass. And like you said, listening to it in headphones, this was his first true album where there was a lot of layering, nowhere near as much layering as Mechanical Animals, but we'll get to that. But there's a lot of layering here. Like, and there's a lot of little bleeps and bloops that you pick up on, little extra bits. And yeah. Um and I also, it took me a long time to pick it out, and it took me until I got really good headphones. Have you ever noticed the Dune Buggy sample at the very beginning of The Beautiful People?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Yeah, I I was like, the first time I heard it, I was like, "Oh, I know what that is." It's very cool. Um I can't remember. I know he does he says what it is in his book, and I can't remember what it is, but he does a backmasking thing at the beginning of Minute of Decay. Um, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of other little Easter eggs and tidbits in that album. It's really, really good. It's also really dark and really dirty, and just it is so full of hate and despair. This was Manson against the world. Like before he like the like this was around the time where the churches started picking him and stuff. But no, this was Manson just yelling and just out into the void. And yeah, as you said, magnum opus, wonderful album.
hmm Yeah. Even some of the songs that, were weren't played that much live, you know, are still really good. Like Worm Boy's a great song.
I don't know how they never played Worm Boy live. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
I know. I tried looking and looking and looking.
It
Nothing.
it doesn't exist. I have, yeah, I in my head I thought, because I used to have like a live CD of all the songs, because that I just downloaded all of them. And I swore I had a Worm Boy one, but apparently I did not, because there's no trace anywhere. And I have asked any Manson fan I know who's like a diehard, and they're like, I don't think he ever played it. And I'm like, okay, fine.
hmm
my brain was playing tricks on me.
hmm of course, a lot of the greats. I actually know how to play Mr. Superstar on guitar. That's one of the few songs I know
I
to
can
play it.
play Minute of Decay on bass. I can do The Beautiful People on guitar. I can do uh Irresponsible Hate Anthem and Little Horn on guitar. And that's all I think I know. Uh, Mr. Superstar is one I should learn though, and
Mhm.
it'd be really easy. The guy I did Metal on the Connecticut River with, like he can play most of this album like without an issue.
That's pretty
Um,
cool.
but yeah, Mr. Super, because we had a very short lived two-person Manson cover band that basically because we shared an apartment and we didn't have downstairs neighbors for like 6 months, so we used to just practice and like yeah we had a set and like there were like 7 Antichrist Superstar songs on it and we would just practice them all the time. So like yeah, Mr. Superstar was in that set. Like loved that song.
Did you ever record anything
No.
during that? That would have been cool to hear.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, yeah, no. We only recorded 3 covers, and based on what people have said, one of them is good.
I'd love to hear them for sure.
Uh,
It, uh, let's see. Of course, 1996. That was one of the songs I kept repeating and repeating and repeating. Such a good fast song. In
yeah,
fact, on YouTube, for the people who are into like cartoons and stuff like that, there's actually a remix of 1996 with the Powerpuff Girls theme song.
that's rather funny.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
remember the first time I watched the Dead to the World VHS, and I was rather annoyed that they did the slow version of 1996. I'm like, God damn it, I don't like this. Play it fast. He plays it fast at the end, but by that point, I'm like, God damn it. But he kind of mixed and matched that. Like he did it up and down on tour because there are videos of them doing it full blast, and then there's versions of them doing it slow. But yeah, 1996 is one of my favorites. Uh, Minute of Decay is probably my favorite.
hmm
Uh, Dried Up, Tied, and Dead to the World is super underrated. I never see anybody talk about that song, and I love that song. Uh, Little Horn, Deformography, uh, Reflecting God is brilliant,
hmm
and yeah, it's a good album. Like even me just crapping on Crypto shit, it's fine. It fits, and I usually don't. I actually usually don't skip it. I'm like whatever, just play.
hmm I think one of my other favorite songs, of course, is Angel with the Scad Wings. It's a great song.
That is a banger. And the fact that they opened God is I keep saying God is in the TV, Dead to the World with that song, perfect. Is so much heavier live.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I was super disappointed that that was not one of the songs. I don't think I ever saw him do Angel with Scab Wings. I know he's brought it back into his set more recently, but I saw him do Antichrist Superstar twice. That was fun, but I never got to see him do Angel with the Scab Wings. I feel that would be great live.
Yeah, that would be a phenomenal thing to see, especially in person.
Well, as long as he keeps like keeping on, you'll get to see him eventually.
Yeah, I just have to find the person to see him live with. That's the thing.
It's valid, but I mean, you got you got time. Um, and yeah, I keep seeing mentions of his upcoming tour, and uh, not I'm not gonna go anyways, but he's not coming anywhere near me. But
Oh,
I don't have an issue with Five Finger Death Punch. I am not sitting through Slaughter to Prevail. No, I refuse. Get away from me, you weird gold masked Russians. Um, but yeah, I think the closest he's coming to me is Jersey. And I'm like, I'm not driving to Jersey.
yeah.
Yeah, when he gets back on his feet again, assuming he does, I assume he does. I have full confidence in him, and I hope he keeps up his sobriety. I believe he'll come closer to me. He'll at least come to like mass or something like that, or he'll play the casinos
Mm,
in Connecticut. That's what he did last time he came through.
okay, right on. Uh, but yeah, I really, yeah, I can't say much more about this album than I have. I could write a whole essay about this album, and
Do it.
how
Do a video essay. 3 hours.
explaining the whole song.
This is why this song means this. This is the connection between these two songs. There has to be. I know I've actually been seeing Manson analysis videos popping up. I haven't watched a single one because I don't care, but yeah, I've seen them pop up. So before we jump into Mechanical Animals, we're gonna take a left turn briefly because I feel this is a good spot to talk about not only his book but a lot of the soundtrack cuts that were going on around this time. So he did. So have you read his book?
I read about half of it. I remember last time I went to Hawaii, on the way home, I read a good chunk of it. That was pretty interesting. I think I got to the maybe portrait era,
Okay.
and I haven't picked it up since, but I need to because I still have it on my
It gets
shelf.
it gets messed up by the time it gets to Antichrist era. Like he goes through a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, that so Long Hard Road to Hell is a that was actually a an important book for me for multiple reasons. So I read it. I've read it like 3 times, I think. But at the time around, so this was like 99, maybe 2000s. Um, my mom, she never really cared what I did too much, but when I started listening to Manson, she took notice and was like, no, no, I'm gonna be a mom, blah blah blah. Don't listen to this evil, evil man. So I ended up convincing her to read his book, and she begrudgingly did. And by the end of finishing his book, she had completely changed her opinion. And she's like, I get it. I'm all right. He's not evil. That's fine. I get it. I get it. Because I spent a good amount of time trying to explain to my mom. I'm like, Mom, you grew up listening to Alice Cooper and liking that. It's essentially the new version of that. It's a bit more crass and over the edge a little bit more than Cooper was, but I was like, it's similar, and so she did kind of get that, and that was our like our almost like olive branch of us becoming closer, like because I was still like angsty rebellious teenager, and
Hmm.
that was like kind of like a coming of age thing almost. And then in 2001, when it came time for me to go to my very first concert, she bought me tickets to go see Manson at Ozfest. And tried like hell to get me backstage passes. Could not, but tried. Um, and sat there with me for the entire show and watched Manson and really enjoyed him and thought Slipknot were very funny.
She thought Slipknot were funny. That's
Yeah.
funny.
It's like guy with the long nose is sticking his nose in the clown's mouth. It's very funny. Yeah, she liked theatrical stuff, so she thought Slipknot
Oh, that's a memory.
were amusing. When we saw Cradle of Filth, she thought Cradle of Filth. She didn't care about the music, but she liked the stage show, and she's like, I really like the stage stuff. This is great. Um, but yeah, didn't I still remember like there's very few things I can recall my mom like after this period like putting her foot down and being like, I hate this. I don't want to ever hear this again. And I may have mentioned this before. One of those was Pardon Me by Incubus.
Hmm. The rap verse,
She
yes.
fucking hated it. She hated that song. She hated Space Oddity by David Bowie because it made her feel really sad and she didn't like it.
Oh.
And for the same reason, she hated Something I Can Never Have by Nine Inch Nails. She's like, this is too sad. I don't like this. Makes me,
Yeah,
and I was like, I get it. It's fine.
yeah.
Um,
I think
but yeah,
uh what's his name? Trent Reznor said something recently on the 30th anniversary because the 30th anniversary just passed. And Trent actually said something similar, like it made him sad because it reminded him of the how he was at the time or something.
yeah, the Pretty Hate Machine was a very vulnerable album for him. And yeah, he that's why he kind of all the albums that kind of came out afterwards, like Broken and the Downward Spiral and the Fragile, were a bit more open to interpretation instead of being super straightforward like they were, because he felt he was unveiling too much of himself and he didn't like that.
Hmm.
Um, and but yeah, I can understand that. And Trent, put out Purest Feeling, you fuck. I want those songs. I want Maybe Just Once. I want Purest Feeling. Give them to me. I want the original version of Ring Finger. Do it, which is just Twist. Um, but yeah, so yeah, Long Hard Road to Hell, really good read. But yeah, at the same time, this was around the time where Manson properly started appearing on soundtracks. He was on the Lost Highway soundtrack with Apple of Sodom, which we also recently realized has a video.
Hmm.
That blew my mind. Um, Long Hard Road to Hell, for the Spawn soundtrack with the Sneaker Pimps, and
Correct.
they weren't allowed to be in the music video. And what's the crap? Was Suck for Your Solution before Mechanical Animals or after?
Before it was on
Okay.
the Private Parts soundtrack.
What about Highway to Hell?
After Mechanical Animals.
Okay. I couldn't quite remember. Um, and we will get to it shortly, but Antichrist Superstar was also the era where they demoed and no, they didn't play it live. They demoed Astonishing Panorama of the End Times, which would show up on the Celebrity Deathmatch soundtrack. Um,
And the
and
last tour on Earth
Last Tour on
Flight
Earth.
album.
But all right. Do you have any thoughts on those songs, the soundtrack bits?
They're all really good for their own reasons. Of course, Suck for Your Own Solution is probably my favorite. I know that was actually recorded during actually the Antichrist Superstar tour, and it was one of the first songs that Zimzum actually played with the band.
Oh, okay, yeah, because most of the writing credit on Antichrist was Daisy, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Um, yeah, I really like Suck for Your Solution. I think Long Hard Road to Hell might be my favorite, just because I really like that sound. But no, Suck for Your Solution is a banger, and I was happy when I learned that he did play that a fair amount live during that time too.
mhm, yeah, for sure. Uh, Apple of Sodom's, of course, great. The video is freaking weird.
Yeah, I was could not believe that the video existed, but then when it existed, I was like, I kind of get why this didn't come out.
Hmm.
It's cool. It's cool. It's a great piece of history, and I'm glad it like exists now. But yeah.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject of the Antichrist Superstar tour, that is when we got. I have a DVD-R copy of this. I just made my own case. The Dead to the World video.
Hmm.
Now, John, what are your thoughts on the Dead to the World video?
That was the first video of his I ever had, and I love it. It is super nostalgic for me. Um, seeing not only seeing all the live footage, but seeing all the background stuff, all the protesty stuff. Um, it painted Manson in a different light. I don't know if that was his intention, but it didn't paint him as actually maybe that was his intention, because it definitely didn't paint him as the villain that everyone else was trying to paint him as. It painted
Mhm.
him as a normal person. Well, normal to a degree, but what's normal?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love that DVD. I love that DVD, and we'll get to it. But I love God is in the TV as well.
Correct. And this tour especially was the first time that they actually appeared at Ozfest.
Yep, Ozfest '97.
Mhm. And some of those videos are especially fantastic of them playing live. I think my favorite live show of theirs from the Antichrist Superstar tour would probably be what was the not Reading because that's not a pro shot. Um, what was the pro
Oh,
shot?
oh, fuck. I watch it. I actually watch it on a regular basis. Um,
Kind of cheating a
is
little
it
bit.
download?
No, I think it was pre-download. Um,
It's not whacking. You said Reading. It's not that. I'm gonna feel stupid when you say it.
Bizarre Festival.
Yeah, there we go. It's the one that all those bands played at that time.
Hmm. Even Weezer, which is interesting. Um,
Never been a big Weezer fan.
yeah, me neither. Uh, yeah. Uh, and the tour went up till I think late '97, and yeah, uh, I knew. I think my cousin actually was one of the people that actually got to see that tour.
I
Uh,
wish I could have seen that tour.
I know. Particularly, I wish I could have seen them. I know L7 opened up for Manson during this time. I wish I could have seen that.
That is a. Well, I was gonna say that's weird, but it's really not. Like that almost fits. They're both crass in their own way.
Correct.
And I L7 can write whatever. Like I'm not the biggest fan of them, but Shit List, love that song. Love that song so much.
Hmm.
Um they have a few other bangers, but like that song in particular.
Hmm. Yeah, they had sort of this like punk metal sound to them that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, they were part of the whole Riot Girl thing.
Correct. Uh, another good video that they or a good live show that they did was, and there's two angles of it you can find online of Canada 1996. That was another really good one.
There's the Hamilton one. I've watched the Hamilton one a couple of times.
Correct. Yes.
Um but yeah, because that was the first time I got to see Minute of Decay in live video footage. And I was like, this is awesome.
Hmm. For sure. And while we're on the subject, I actually have it. They actually put out a EP for this video, and
Remix and repent.
correct. You already know it. Hold on, let me get it real quick.
Which that has the horrible people, the prosthetic dance mix of Tourniquet, um,
Oh,
the acoustic version of Man That You Fear. What were the other two songs? Is it another
okay.
remix of Beautiful People?
Yeah, horrible. No, just horrible people and tourniquet prosthetic dance mix,
Yeah.
and the acoustic version of Antichrist Superstar. It also has two
Wait, there's
live
an
tracks.
wait. There's an acoustic version of Antichrist Superstar.
No, no, no. It says for Antichrist Superstar, Man They Fear.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say what?
I know that would have been the most
How do
interesting.
you do that acoustic?
uh, two live tracks: Dead, Tied Up, Dried Up, Tied, and Dead to the World. Antichrist Superstar. One was live at Utica, New York, and one was live at Hartford, Connecticut. You can find those two live shows on their own. I hate to, and I hate to say this, but they don't sound as good as the untouched version. You could definitely tell when you hear these versions, other than the whole live show bootleg, that they retouched them. And I hate to kind of
Yeah,
say,
and that kind of makes sense. It's cool that Hartford was one of them. But yeah, I had completely blanked the two live things out of my head, but I remembered the other three
Mhm.
because I remember the weird the weird remix of Horrible People being like, I don't know if I how I feel about this. I do like the acoustic version of Man That You Fear though.
Mhm. Very fantastic version. Yeah.
All right, let's dig into it. Mechanical Animals.
Yeah.
This one was preceded by The Dope Show, came out in 1998. It
Mhm.
had The Dope Show, Rock is Dead, I Don't Like the Drugs, but the Drugs Like Me, and Coma White as music videos.
Mhm.
Um, I think Coma White was only a promo single, but the other three songs were sent to radio. I'm not sure if Coma White was ever sent to radio,
No,
which it should have been.
I know.
Um, but uh, but yeah, this was Manson's turn into a more glam industrial sound. Far cleaner and spacier than Antichrist Superstar. We previously talked about how layered Antichrist Superstar was. That ain't got nothing on this one. like like everything has like there's like four tracks of everything and it's awesome.
Hmm.
Um this album was this and Antichrist Superstar were two of the main albums that shaped my taste in music in early John days. Like these shifted, and I had mentioned this. It probably was going to be a while before it comes out, but I was on the New Breed podcast not that long ago, and
Oh, really?
I talked about this album, and I mentioned that despite all my musical changes over all the years, like I've adapted, I've gotten into more extreme stuff, I've gotten into softer stuff. Mechanical Animals has stayed there the entire time. I still listen to it on a regular basis. I don't care how much metal I listen to. I don't care how much soft music I listen to. This album this album is going to be important to me till the day I die. I don't care.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, this was super influential for me. Now I will let you go.
Yeah. I remember watching the video that you talked about this album on its own, which, by the way, you need to do more episodes of comfort albums.
I don't want to. Yeah, the only reason I ever did more of those, and this is just a side tangent, was because I really kind of lost my pacing with them. I much prefer doing things like this where I have somebody to bounce off of because I really don't listen. I like listening to myself for that long.
Hmm.
Like I run out of steam, or I think I'm talking too long about something. Um, but yeah, no, I'm fine going through everything that I would consider a comfort album with other people. I just don't want to do it by myself.
Okay, understandable.
Same with there's another side tangent really quick. Same goes for reaction videos because I've been asked about those before. Like, why don't you do more reaction videos? They are boring as hell to do by yourself. If I ever do reaction videos again, it will be with other people. It'll be maybe with you. It'll be with you and Gary, or just get like some grouping of people. Because me just sitting here going, "Oh, that was kind of cool," boring as hell. I don't want to do that. There's 5,000 channels who do that. I don't want to
Yeah,
do it. I'd much
right.
rather watch the rapper guys react to metal videos. That's way more fun for me.
Yeah, reaction videos like that are pretty funny. Um, and entertaining. Um, but anyway, back to Mechanical Animals. This was the second album I heard. Of course, I later bought the CD. This is actually the original press, which has the blue case, which I really like the blue case.
It's the one I got.
Yeah. Uh, I remember hearing this right after Antichrist, and I thought to myself, wow, this is a sort of a drastic change to sound. But at the same time, you could definitely still tell it had that Manson feel to it,
Yeah.
which I really liked. And like the great, he listened to the Great Big White World, uh, and just it's very atmospheric almost. Like it's obviously not like ambient atmospheric, like, but I mean, I guess it sort of kind of is.
No, but I get what you mean. And it is, to me, one of the best opening songs on an album ever. Like it has such a smooth, like silky sound to it. It's super vibrant. It's got the atmosphere. It takes you away. Like it's wonderful. Like but yeah, it is and it's got like such a, like, the guitar tone in this album as a whole is wonderful. This song in particular, beautiful. And then the punch in of the chorus, the all my stitches itch. Oh, great. But yeah, like Great Big White World, awesome all around.
Mhm. Of course, the Dope Show. Uh, this was kind of a mistake. I remember you mentioning this when I tried to get my brother into Marilyn Manson,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I mentioned him a couple times. I think I showed him a couple of songs. I know he liked the Beautiful People and some other things. One mistake I sort of made was
Showing him the video to the Dope Show.
yes,
Yep.
and me and my brother watching it from the video, he was just like, "Why? What? What's going on?" And it's a good video, but it kind of makes you wonder what were they on.
I I get what he was trying to do. Especially when you look at like his triptych story arc. Um, and it was very much a nod to Bowie's "The Man Who Fell to Earth."
Correct.
Um, but yeah, back to the rappers reacting to metal videos. There was one recently where they reacted to the Dope Show, and one of the very first things that one of them said was, "Yo, he got tits." Was awesome. A plus. Um, but yeah, I like the video, and but I can understand, like, he was still going for the shock rock thing, and it worked. Um, but yeah, I like the video though, and
Mhm.
I will stand by the fact that I still really like the song. I've heard it probably more than any other Manson song, but I still like the song.
Mhm. Yes. Of course, the song Mechanical Animals, which rarely got played live.
No, but it was the first time I ever heard it live. It was on the Return of the Rock compilation, either volume 1 or 2. Um, but yeah, there's a live version of Mechanical Animals on it, because I
Correct.
remember a friend of mine was having a birthday party, and they were playing the album, and a lot of the songs I had never heard before. But then that came on, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa! I didn't know this existed." um, but yeah, another wonderful song, and this one, this one out of the first 3 songs has the strongest punch to start a song. Like it kind of goes for it right away. It's obviously not one of the heavier songs on the album. We'll get to some of those, but yeah, mechanic. This one's great, and he even stole the "Suicide King" line from Machines of Love and Grace, so that's cool.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, they probably stole from somebody else, but yeah, great song.
And then, of course, you get to one of the heaviest songs on the album, Rock is Dead, which I have a video for.
Yeah, there's 2 versions of the video. The one I'm mostly familiar with, because I used to have it back in the day. You had to record music videos off the TV onto VHS tapes.
Mhm.
Um, and so I had the one with the Matrix tie-ins. So that was the one I watched the most of. And yeah, I also love his outfit in it with the fucking prongy shit that
Hmm.
he wore in the God is in the TV video. And this was his blue face paint, half face paint thing. Um, yeah, no, love this song, super catchy. Even though the chorus is wait, oh yeah, no, there's two. There's the chorus and then the post chorus because there's the rock is deader than dead, but then there's the na 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 na. But yeah, this was one of the first songs I ever tried to learn how to play on guitar, and I never quite mastered it.
Yeah, it's
Like
a very kind of.
because like you got to get the rhythm down, but also hit the weird fucking note. The friend I already mentioned, he can do it perfectly. Of course he can. Um, but yeah, Rock is Dead, great track.
Just and then we get sort of it's sort of like is like a roller coaster the album because it's got slower, more mellow songs, then heavy songs, slower, and we kind of get back to sort of the slower songs with
Two of the slowest and saddest songs on the album.
Disassociative and The Speed of Pain.
Disassociative, I kind of got cut off in my mechanical animals episode, so I didn't get to mention this because we it wasn't their fault. It went off on a tangent, and then I couldn't break myself to interrupt him again. But Disassociative and Coma White are my two favorite songs in this album. Like they're both brilliant, and Disassociative, especially the whole dead astronaut in space thing. Oh, like this also has some of my favorite Manson vocals, like clean vocals ever, like on this song, and also on Speed of Pain. And they're both much like in the way I spoke highly of the tone to Great Big White World. All that feels like all that can be said for this song too. Like Disassociative is beautiful from start to finish. I love the airplane sound. I think it's an airplane sound at the beginning of Speed of Pain. Sounds like a fan, but it sounds like an airplane kind of flying by. I'm not sure if that's the intention. Um, but yeah, and then the Speed of Pain is the first time on the album, I think, where they start utilizing the female backup singers,
Mm-hmm.
which they don't overdo at any point in the album. They only do it
No.
on a few songs, but it's so well done on the few songs that it's a perfect little addition to the album.
Mhm.
How do you feel about this part of the record?
I don't mind it. I actually really think it's a nice little touch that they added, especially, to make it that much more melancholic sounding. I know that's kind of a weird terminology for it, but I always thought of,
I get what you mean though.
yeah, because this whole album to me is probably one of the more melancholic sounding Manson albums, and I love it for that reason, especially, you know. Uh, and then we kind of get back into sort of like it's not heavy, but sort of like back on pace with post-human.
It is Rock is Dead unhinged.
It is. That's the
Um
perfect explanation for it.
yeah, because it's the drums are all over the place. The synths are going crazy. You can the guitars actually are kind of low in the mix for this album because like or this song because of how high the synths are going and everything like that. And the drums mixed with I assume there's additional like drum machine stuff in there too. But but yeah, the
Mhm.
whole God is just a statistic. Like yeah, this song was an early favorite of mine. Like before because it took me a little while when I was really young to get more into the super melancholy tracks. I wasn't there yet, but like Posthuman, oh, all for Posthuman. Omega and the Mechanical Animals.
Yeah. We start off the next song.
Yeah.
which was I Want to Disappear.
Yep.
Wasn't this the one song that you said it was your least favorite?
No, that's coming up. No,
Uh,
I want to disappear. Um I think it's if there was a song to call fun on this album, there's this one and the next song. Those are the fun ones to me. I love the there's another one where like it's hard to describe it. The drive of this song is a bit more fast than any of outside of Rock is Dead and Posthuman. This is the fastest of the non-heavy tracks.
mhm.
Um and it like I love the momentum really works well on this song.
100%. Yeah, it's catchy. It's really catchy, and uh, I like to whenever it comes on, I like to get my groove onto it. Uh,
Groove time.
Groove time, 100%. And then we get to the next video. I think it was the next video.
Yep.
Yeah, it was the next video. I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me.
The disco song.
Yes,
Uh
very funky.
do you have it in your notes that Dave Navarro does the guitar solo on this song?
Yes,
All right.
they do.
I love this song. It is so much fun. I it's kind of it's almost stupid, but I don't care. Um and I love the video as well. The video is weird, but I love it. Manson gets his arm cut off. It's sweet. And then he turns into a bunch of TVs.
Mhm.
But yeah, don't like the drugs, but drugs like me. Uh, Brilliant stuff. And how do you feel about Want to Disappear? And besides getting your groove on, and don't like the drugs.
Don't like the drugs. Of course, a great song as usual. I remember also watching the video and thinking it was pretty weird, but I still really enjoyed it. Um, and I Want to Disappear is very much. It's one of the definitely one of the probably. I would say it's in my top five favorite songs on the album by far. I Want to Disappear would be,
I could vibe with that.
and I Don't Like the Drugs is a very chill, kind of funky kind of song I really
Yeah,
enjoy.
I never get sick of I don't like the drugs. Like it's such a good song.
Hmm. Right, and then we get to your least favorite song of the
Yep, now I get to talk shit.
album.
It's
New
not even
mod-
it's really at the heart of it, it's not that bad. Um but compared to everything else, it's not good. Um
New
yeah.
model number 15.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. It's got clappers in it. Um but uh but yeah, it's fine, I guess. It's not that bad, but man, do I skip this song.
Really?
I've heard it so many times. I'm good. I don't need to hear it again. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't vibe with it. It's fine.
Yeah. I must really like it more than you do because I love this song.
I That was kind of the same consensus when I did the New Breed episode. They were like, the Tim was yeah, it's one of my favorite songs on the album. I'm like, I do not like this song.
I mean, I get I could see where you wouldn't like it because it's kind of it's very repetitive.
Yeah, but there's something about it that draws people to it, and I understand that because there are people who I've talked to who this is their favorite song on the album, and I'm like, oh, okay, but we have very different parameters for what we're looking for here. Um, but yeah, but it definitely has a different vibe than most of the other songs. But yeah, the only the only thing I like about this song, the only main thing I like about this song is I like whatever that background synth noise is at the beginning that sounds like a roar, before it goes into the clapping, the whatever
Yeah,
that is,
yeah.
like I think that sounds cool as hell. And then he
Hmm.
goes into clapping, and I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's understandable. And then we get probably one of the most interesting songs on the album. I still like it. User friendly.
Not in love, but I'm gonna you till somebody better comes along.
Gonna bonk you. Yes.
I have you ever? Of course you have. Never mind. I was gonna say, have you watched live footage of this song? Um, the live version of this song is so much heavier than the album version.
It is.
I'm because when it gets because you can really because there's less guitar in this song and it's a lot of low end. It's like a lot of bass, and live it really comes through, and it when that chorus hits up, it's a punch in the face. It's really good. I still really love the album version though. This is a good song.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of the live uh like a lot of how what makes the live version so good, and I don't talk about him, I should, is a really good in my opinion, probably one of my most favorite members of Marilyn Manson as a whole, Madonna Wayne Gacy, aka Pogo.
Mhm.
He A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the samples that like he doesn't just use samples and stuff and like makes all the weird like sound effects. There were some times where he also used like guitar sound effects and bass sound effects
Yeah,
in live, and I think he's a very huge reason why a lot of Mechanical Animals sounded as huge as it did live.
yeah. This was this on this album, and I know he uses it on Golden Age of Grotesque, but this album was the first time I remember Manson stuff having like a little bit of sub bass, and you can hear it on User Friendly. You can hear it in parts of the Dope Show, that gives it that almost hip hop feel in the verses.
Yes.
And he does it on a couple other things, but it's mostly prominent on those two songs. But yeah, no, it definitely in a live environment it adds to it substantially.
Hmm. And also with this album, it was the only album, I know, not entirely, but for the majority, it was the only album that Zimzum did guitar on.
Yeah.
John Five was mostly, I think John Five may have like done some things for it, but he was mostly the live guitarist.
He did some late end things. I think he might have had something to do with the guitar solo in Coma White.
Hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, Zimzum and Twiggy were the main people who did the guitar parts on this album.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna say this too. Even though, live when playing like some of the Antichrist and Portrait songs, as well as like Children's songs live, he was really good, pretty good live. Not as good as Daisy, but he's still pretty good. He's another member of Manson's that I feel is extremely underrated.
We're talking Zimzum.
Yeah, Zimzum.
Yeah, no, he definitely is.
I haven't heard any of his solo stuff though. Have you?
No,
The Okay.
I didn't even know it existed until I heard people arguing about him the other day in one of the Manson Facebook groups.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't. I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's something I'd particularly go out of my way to go check out. Uh, but maybe it'd be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely update people if once I listen to it, what I think. Anyway, continuing on with Mechanical Animals, fundamentally loathsome. This is probably my least favorite song on the album.
You're not alone, but I like this song.
Yeah.
This so another spoiler. This was a thing I said as well in the New Breed thing. Do you remember Power Man 5000's Tonight the Stars Revolt?
Yes.
Okay, the very last song on that album, Watch the Sky for Me.
Hmm.
This is that song done right because I hate that song. Um, the whole lounge weird like space opera thing. Like this is that done correctly. I like fundamentally loathsome. Is it my favorite song on the album? No. It might be in the top half. I'd have to actually like properly stack them, but no, I really like the song and I really like the guitar solo. It's got a good mood to it and it's starting to settle into the close of the album. Like I think it's a very good placement as well. Like 12 works. There were at least one of the New Breed guys was arguing that this should be the album closer. And while I understood what he meant, I don't agree.
No.
Um, but yeah, but I can understand if things were like I in a world I might be able to rearrange Last Day on Earth and Coma White somewhere else on the album, and
Mhm.
then if Fundamentally Loathsome was the last song, I wouldn't be that bothered. I'd be like, okay, fine, that's how we're closing it out. We're closing it out with a lounge piece. But
Yes.
why don't you like the song?
I mean, I don't, it's not that I don't like it. I still like it. It's just my least favorite on the album. It's maybe it's like it's I get it. It's a lounge song. It's kind of interesting,
Too much
but
of a change?
yeah, probably. But with that being said, I still enjoy it, and if it ever comes on when I'm listening to it, I don't skip it.
So this is
But
so this is your crypto shit for me.
pretty much, I would
Okay.
say so. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one's always feels like a bump. I'm like, you went
Hmm.
from Little Horn to this? What is this?
Hmm.
But yeah, but I get the issues with it. But no, I really like the song.
Hmm. Then we get the last two songs, which, in my opinion, should be switched if it were up to me.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Last Day on Earth and Coma White. I was actually listening to Last Day on Earth last night.
I like Last Day on Earth, but I much prefer the version on Last Tour on Earth.
The
I
acoustic.
love I love that acoustic version. It is so good.
Me
It's like
too.
it's like because I like the album version. It's fine. And it's a lot more synthy than the version that the live version. But there's so much heart in that, and like you can feel like the pain of that live version. I love it so much.
Hmm.
But yeah, the album version is still good.
Yes.
I also
And
like the "In All My Past Lives I Played an Asshole" line.
yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, Coma White, which had a music video.
One of my favorite Manson videos.
Me too.
It is really well constructed and also one of my favorite Manson songs. Like if I was to rate his singles properly, this might be at the top. I'm trying to think of what would beat it. I think for right now, I would say Coma Wait's my favorite of all of his singles.
Yeah, it's a good one too. The video with the whole JFK thing and them in the alley, just the cinematography, because I love film and stuff. I like to pay attention to some of the cinematography and the shots, and the cinematography in the Coma White video is especially well done.
Yeah,
Uh, and how they got to do the whole parade thing with all everyone. It's just such a great song and a great video.
it's also the only video that Rose McGowan appeared in with him.
Correct. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you just said. Like wonderful looking video, cinematography is crazy. All for it.
Hmm. Speaking of Rose McGowan, did you ever watch? Because Manson at the time, obviously they were both dating. Did you ever see Manson's part in the Rose McGowan movie Jawbreaker?
I've never seen Jawbreaker.
You
I
never.
remember I remember it existing and I remember being told that Manson's in that. And he was also in some other movie called Party Monster that I've also never seen. Um,
Macaulay Culkin, yeah.
yeah. But no, I've never seen Jawbreaker.
Yeah, he plays a part in that. He plays like this sort of like very sleazy kind of dude at a bar who, is with one of the students. But it's in a flashback sequence. It's very brief. And it's weird. Madsen, he has these like obviously fake eyebrows. He kind of looks like him like he did in 94.
Mhm.
And he has this like mustache. It's pretty funny. I may send the clip to you.
I would very much like to see that.
Yeah. He kind of it's like sort of imagine if Madsen and Ron Jeremy kind of mixed together.
That is awful.
That's kind of how I see it,
I just
except he's
I just
thin.
pictured fat Harry Manson. Like, "Oi,
Yeah.
where'd my hair go?"
uh, but yeah, and it's just I really, really, yeah, this whole album as a whole is just amazing. Like you said, and Como White's a good finisher for sure. Again, I would prefer if Last Day on Earth was the finisher, but I still like Como White as a finisher too.
Hmm.
We'll
Unless
get
you
to it.
unless you put the song in or CD into your computer, and then it plays that weird song, Untitled. The
It has like that weird electronic kind of spoken
yes,
wordish. Yeah.
I remember the
No,
first time I came across that. Like I was like, "Oh, what is this?" It showed. It was like because it was a flash thing, and it would show. It was showing at the time like a lot of his artwork and stuff like that. But yeah, this album as well had a bunch of extra songs that came out around the same time. We'll get to some of those. The let's see, we'll just start with Astonishing Panorama of the End Times. That came out on the Celebrity Deathmatch CD, and it also came out on Last Tour on Earth, where it was also lined up with. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. There's do you have the version of Last Tour on Earth that has the all the extra songs or just Astonishing?
I have where I put it. I thought I had it right here. Um, I have the one with the bonus tracks, like everything on it. Where
Okay.
is it?
Yeah, so the
Oh, here it
so
is.
yeah, the fully fledged version of Last Tour on Earth has the live album, and then it has Astonishing Panorama of the End Times. It has um oh my god, what's the name of that song?
Get My Rocks Off,
Yeah, Get My Rocks Off.
which is a Doctor Hook cover.
And then there's the really bad one, Rose and a Baby Ruth.
Yeah.
That song sucks. Um, and acoustic version of something, acoustic version of Coma White.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and that those are the bonus songs. But yeah, Astonishing Panorama of the End Times. We already mentioned that
Mhm.
came out or that was concocted during Antichrist Superstar, and then fully realized here, and has a ridiculous guitar slash synth solo. Um, but yeah, wonderful song, super high energy. Definitely the heaviest song that he had put out in quite some time.
Mhm.
Um, which was kind of a foreshadowing of what was to come. Um, and then Get My Rock, Get My Rocks Off was a cover.
Yeah, Doctor Hook.
Oh, you already said that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard the original. I do like Get My Rocks Off though, good song. Rose and a Baby Ruth, as I already said, sucks. And the Comb White acoustic version's fine.
Mhm. Yeah, and then he on the Detroit Rock City soundtrack, he released Highway to Hell.
Yep.
Now I know a lot of people really hate this cover, and I
I
understand.
like this cover,
I love it. Yeah,
but I also don't like ICDC, so that's on me.
yeah. It's yeah. They're known for like, they joked about like we were like play the same. out song every album or something like that.
They do.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the, you know how people complain that people experiment. That's one band that
They're like,
people,
no,
yeah.
we're back in black again.
Could you imagine though if AC/DC did experiment one time with something
Oh, I do it.
like
Make a dubstep album.
like they did with like Bad Religion, love Bad Religion did, tried to sound
I
like
love
rock.
that album.
Me too. Me too.
It's so weird. It's because they didn't take themselves seriously. They were like, we're gonna
Yeah.
release an arena rock album. Um, but yeah, oh god, imagine ACDC having a crisis in the mid '80s, and they're like, all right, we're gonna put out a new wave album.
Yeah.
I would love. Look, if Alice Cooper can put out new wave shit, so can ACDC. Do it, you cowards.
100%. Yes.
But yeah, I like this cover. Um,
Mhm.
but I can understand why an ACDC fan um, would not like this. It's bit too angry and a bit too doesn't sound like everything else. Um, trying to think of this was also Dead Man on Campus saw the release of his cover of Golden Years
Mhm.
from Bowie, which sucks. I don't like that cover.
Did you ever hear the other song? Well, Twiggy and Twiggy, I only want to be with
I
you.
love that.
Me too.
That one is a lot of fun. I like that cover. I used to listen to that actually way more than I probably should have. I thought it was really good.
Mhm.
Um, and I this was also around the same time as where Napster and Kazan's LimeWire was a thing, and it was growing more prominent. And for the longest time, I had a song that was labeled as being from Twiggy Ramirez called Sabrina. And I used to listen to it all the time, and I was like, oh man, I wish Twiggy had released a full album. It wasn't a Twiggy song. It was a guy, a super well known is not the right word, super well known in the underground industrial act. And I don't even know if industrial is the right term. He was experimental, industrial, collagey stuff. And I don't know if I can say his name right. It's Ister Einster something Newbouten.
I don't know.
God damn it. It's like two really long names. But yeah, it was their stuff. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it has a music video too, and it's super weird. But but yeah, so Golden Years came out on the Dead Man on Campus soundtrack. And I don't even know if I had actually heard the original Golden Years by that point. Um, but yeah, I don't like that cover.
Yeah, I
He
know it's what?
I was gonna say he definitely he has some hits and misses on covers.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then of course this was when the Blair Witch 2 came out, or it was sort of after, and when he recorded Suicide is Painless.
Oh, they did that come out before Hollywood?
You know what? I guess maybe before Hollywood, I think. But we'll
I'm
talk more about it later.
I'm trying to because there's also because this was also around the same time where he had his own record label and he signed Godhead and then
Uh-huh.
he appeared on one of their songs. Um,
Correct.
yeah, so maybe it was.
Yeah. I guess we could talk more about that when we get to Hollywood.
Yeah, which we're gonna do right now. It's
Well,
Hollywood time.
actually, one more thing before we talk about Hollywood, I want to also talk about the
Oh, we're gonna
video.
talk about God is on the TV.
Yes. Which is right here. Yeah. This is a great video right here,
That was the first time I got to see the majority of those music videos. Um,
which they're from, they went, it was kind of interesting how they went from newest to oldest.
Yeah, I do like that though.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because I remember I had we had a TV channel at the time called MTVX that was just 24/7 music videos from rock and metal bands. And they would show Manson videos on occasion, but it was only particular ones. They would do Dope Show, Rock is Dead, Beautiful People, Sweet Dreams, and I'm trying to remember if they did anything from Portrait. They might not have. But if they did like Lunchbox. But yeah, so this was the first time I ever got to see a lot of these videos. I remember briefly catching I Don't Like the Drugs when it came out as a video, but they almost never aired it again, so I never got to see it again. But yeah, this was the first time I got to see Coma White. This was the first time I got to see Don't Like the Drugs. First time I got to see Tourniquet, Man That You Fear. I believe the Crypto Shit videos on this. Is it?
Yep.
Okay, so the first time I saw that. Still don't know why it exists.
Hmm.
It was the first time I got to see Get Your Gun and Dope Hat. And I remember being blown away by Dope Hat. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I need to show everybody this video.
Hmm.
Kind of like how when I got what's the Nine Inch Nails two VHS set. Oh my God. From the Downward Spiral era.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Shoot.
It's not broken. It's oh my God. Why can't I think of the name?
Uh,
Uh,
Closure?
Closure, Jesus Christ. Yeah. First, when I got Closure and I got to see all those videos for the first time, and I showed everyone I knew Happiness and Slavery. I'm like, look at this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dude gets grinded into pieces. It's awesome.
Nice.
Um, and that also showed me that Manson was in an early Nine Inch Nails video. He's in the video for Gave Up, playing
He
guitar,
was. Hmm.
even though he didn't know how to play guitar. Trent was
Nope.
just like, hold it, look cool.
Yeah, even live, like he's like when you see him play guitar live during, especially from Portrait to like the Smells Like Children era or Antichrist, maybe he plays guitar all right.
He more uses it as a way to make noise.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he does it during Down in the Park. He does it during Dried Up, Tied, and Dead to the World. Um, I feel there's one more. Um,
Maybe Mr. Superstar.
you might be right.
Yeah.
See, because I was either leaning towards Mr. Superstar or Deformography, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, it was always weird seeing Manson with a guitar. It's very
Mhm.
unnatural.
You know, there actually exists, and to this day, I don't think I've ever been able to find it. I know I've seen screenshots, I know it exists. Gary Newman had a show in Los Angeles in '98, and he actually played down in the park.
Yeah,
Down, yeah, down in the park. And he actually invited Manson on stage to sing it with him.
I remember reading about that because I have Newman's book. Yeah, I don't know if there's footage of it. There's also live footage of Fear Factory playing Cars live with him, and I've never been able to locate that.
Yeah. So again, more lost footage yeah, has yet to be found.
That was also a weird time because late 90s, 97, 98 was also when another mainstream band covered Down in the Park because Foo Fighters did it for the X-Files soundtrack.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. I remember having it and being like, "Oh, this is a weird choice for the Foo Fighters," but it worked. But
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Guys in the TV, great video. Uh, great live footage too. There's
mm,
actually some I didn't even realize it until I rewatched it. there's some like really great like I don't know if it was 16 or 35 millimeter film footage that looks absolutely raw and amazing. And I actually didn't know this until like maybe a couple months ago. There actually exists a 3 or 4 hour cut of Gods in the TV on VHS that was only like 10 people in the world have.
I would like that. Give it to me.
Completely uncensored, completely unedited, and has way more footage of them
It's
backstage and
it's
stuff.
just an additional 2 hours of John Five licking Marilyn Manson's asshole. For real.
Yeah,
I
John
always
Far's
I always
right up.
remember that.
Yeah.
It was clean. Yeah, I love all the backstage footage of that. I like when they're in Japan and riding go-karts. Um
Hmm.
uh
If you were to ask me my favorite live set, it would probably be Japan '99. Probably be my favorite
that
live
was
show.
when they did Astonishing Panorama live.
That's right.
Yeah, because I've seen like that's like the best quality footage of them doing it during the mechanical tour. It's really good. But yeah,
Hmm.
that and Big Day Out 99 is another really good live set during that period of time.
Hmm. It was also during that time where they had a. I don't know if you probably you know what you probably remember. And I don't even know who thought of the billing because I'm part of a couple other groups with this other band. For whatever reason, and I don't know how it even came to be, and it was very short-lived, only like seven. It was supposed to be like 20 dates or something like that. It only ended up being like 8 or 9 dates.
We're talking about the Beautiful Monsters tour.
Yes.
Yeah.
How how do you think that came to be with Hole and Marilyn Manson?
I kind of at the time get it. Um, but stylistically, those are two very different fan bases. That was
Under
like that's like when ICP went on tour with Cold Chamber for that very brief period of time. Um, it's like it's too contrasting. Um, Also, you kind of got to deal with the ego of Courtney Love and the ego of Marilyn Manson, which eh, it didn't work that well later when Manson did it with Rob Zombie. They couldn't get along either. Like you're gonna butt heads. But then Hole left and got replaced by Monster Magnet, who I absolutely love.
and Nashville Pussy.
I forgot about that. I don't know if I've ever actually listened to them.
They're pretty good. They're kind of like Southern hard rock kind of stuff. They're pretty good.
Okay. But
Uh,
Monster Magnet is in the God is in the TV video
mhm,
because Manson shows up on stage for Spine of God and they smash the burning guitar.
mhm. One of the best moments of that video, hands down.
I got to see them do that live. It was awesome. Not not
Lucky.
not Manson, but I got to see Monster Magnet do that live. Uh,
Mhm.
because they did Spine of God, and yeah, he set the guitar on fire and smashed the shit out of it. Oh,
Nice.
such a good song live. Goes on for
And you
like
got to meet him
nine
too.
minutes. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Barely met Dave, but I got to hang out with all the other ones. Yeah, because that's the. I'm sure I've told that story of my mom doing shots with the other band members,
Hmm.
and
And
then
then her telling you,
never do that.
yeah.
Although they were very, very nice, cute young men. No, they were like 40. Yeah, shut up.
But yeah, if any of you could get a hold of Guys in the TV, I highly recommend you check this out for sure. It's really
Yeah,
fantastic.
both of those I think I'm pretty sure they're both on YouTube in full. Like both Dead to the World and God is in the TV. So, at the very
Yeah.
least, watch them. They're both
Hmm.
very good.
Hmm. So you got some homework for your viewers. So
They better be listening.
mhm.
They're just going to yell at me about why I'm not uploading more new metal albums. Go away. Leave me alone. Um
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into the last album we're going to talk about on this episode. We're going to talk about Hollywood. Now, Hollywood came out after the whole Columbine thing. Manson was not in the best of places, but he felt he needed to just kind of go at he needed to direct his animosity somewhere. And this is the third part in the trip. Is it triptych? Is that how you
Yeah.
say it?
Mhm.
Third part in the triptych, but it's actually part one. See, the way you're supposed to look at it is part one, Hollywood, is young and angsty Manson. Part two is Manson being brought up and all glammed up and like basically drained of all of his like abilities and superstardom. And then Antichrist Superstar, the final part, is him basically falling back down to earth and being really, really pissed off about it and wanting to take everyone out with him. So that's the story. But Hollywood saw the release of three more music videos. It was Disposable Teens, Fight Song, and The Nobodies. Although I believe the Nobodies video is a remix, but only very slightly.
Mhm.
All three are actually some of my actually no. Nobodies is one of my favorite music videos. Fight Song's cool too. And Disposable Teens, he has the big metal teeth. Like he's robotic Baraka. It's very cool. Um but yeah, this was this was the first Manson album I got to experience fresh because by the time I'd gotten Mechanical Animals, it had already been out. So this one I was anticipating. Um, and as well, this is the first album I ever got burned for me.
Mhm.
So because of that, and because it was, I believe it was actually before the album came out. It was one of those like back in the day where you could like pirate albums where they before they came out. I didn't have the proper President Dead. So it was another year or so until I got the proper President Dead when I actually properly bought the album. And I was like, what the hell is this? This song wasn't on the other thing. Because I mine was a sample, and I'm pretty sure it's a Charles Manson recording because it ends with it's like 50 or 60 seconds, and the last line of it is, if I started killing people, there'd be none of you left, which
Mhm.
I believe is a Manson interview quote.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so that was what was in place of President Dead on my copy.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that version.
Yeah, I still have the that clip. Like I made sure it's in one of my hard drive folders. But yeah, it's just like 50 or 60 seconds. But yeah, that was what came on the burned version that was given to me.
Hmm.
And it also didn't have Suicide is Painless on it.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, this whole album, this a lot of people say this when they're talking about Manson. A lot of Manson fans I've talked to, a lot of people say this is kind of like the end of the road for them with Manson.
It's definitely the end of an era for sure. Especially with Twiggy leaving after this album and
Mhm.
the stylistic change that happens between this and Golden Age of Grotesque. So I do get this feels like the last iteration of the, even though I know they had changed members so much, this felt like the last gasp of the original Marilyn Manson
Mhm.
before he started properly changing it up almost every album.
Mhm.
Even though he
Yes,
had even though he had been changing it up, but it felt different now.
it really did. You could definitely tell there was like it wasn't the same, but it was going to be a whole new era.
Yeah. And it's also the last of his concept albums, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think he's done one since.
No.
But yeah, this album is another one that's really good start to finish. It has a couple of bumps, but even the bumps aren't that bad. You start with God Eat God, which is a it's I don't want to call it an intro, but it kind of is.
Hmm.
but because it goes so long and it's like an intro song essentially. Because it does have a purpose, but it basically leads into the love song, and then fight song, and then disposable teens. How do you feel about the early part of Hollywood?
You know, it's sort of like how I felt with Mechanical Animals the first time I heard it. Like, it's definitely a roller coaster of sound, if I would say so. But in this case, it's actually even more so a roller coaster than I would say Mechanical Animals would be. Like, there's like some major changes
Oh
with
yeah,
this album compared to some of the others. But I really enjoy how it's vastly different. Of course, I like some songs better than others. Not gonna lie, but as a whole, I think the album is still very good. I think I would put this in my top. I don't know if I put in my maybe. I would put it on my top five. It's probably my fifth favorite album, honestly.
I would be comfortable doing that. I think, because yeah, I'd be like Mechanical, Antichrist, Portrait. I could throw Hollywood in there. Yeah. Um, I think unlike the previous albums, I think this album actually maybe with the exception of Portrait, I think that this album gets stronger after the first grouping of songs. I think
Mm.
starting from because I do like the first four songs, but I think starting from Target Audience, it gets stronger. Like I think the run of Target Audience, President Dead, In the Shadow of the Valley of Death, which is a beautiful song. Then there's Crucifixion in Space, Place in the Dirt, another beautiful song, and then what's track 10? Track 10 is Nobody's.
Yep.
Yep. So that run and then Death Song, like that like run right there is like probably the best part of the album.
Hmm. Yep.
Although some of my favorite songs are later in the album, there's a few more hiccups at that point.
Hmm. Yeah. I Manson when really brought back a lot of the heaviness that was sort of missing in Mechanical Animals, sort of back from the Antichrist Superstar era esque
Yeah.
on this album.
It's almost a midpoint between the two while not being as ferocious as Antichrist. It doesn't have like the spacey elements that Mechanical Animals did. So it is its own thing, but it is far more aggressive than Mechanical Animals was for sure.
Hmm.
And that was what a lot of people at the time wanted because there were a lot of people who did not like Mechanical Animals coming off of Antichrist Superstar.
Hmm. Right. Uh, some of the songs are really good. Of course, Burning Flag. One of my favorite songs that Manson ever did, and I don't think he, to this day, you know what? I don't even think he ever played it live. Coma Black.
Yes, he does.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm. He actually did it when I saw him. The way he does it, I don't think he plays the song purely. He plays the song up till the that ending bit that changes where the song basically changes. Uh the it talks something about an apple. Um
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You're right.
yeah, because he does that and then he bleeds it into Coma White.
Right. So I don't think he's ever played the whole Coma Black song fully.
Yeah, because he's never played that last section live for
Okay, that
sure.
makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, he's played. He combined it because he didn't play Coma White live for a long time too.
Mhm.
Um, but then he started blending in it because when I saw him with Alice Cooper, he did a Coma Black, Coma White combo.
Okay, there's actually a fan remix of that called Coma Gray. Have you ever heard that?
No, but I'd be interested to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great remix. Of course, the fight song's great. One of my favorite music videos takes place in a football field.
Yeah, it is. It is a good music video. I love the creepiness of the Nobody's video though.
Yeah,
Tree Manson.
yes.
Uh,
It's almost very David Lynch like, I would say.
yeah, it's definitely very weird.
Mm,
Um, but I'd probably say if I had to pick any, my favorite songs in the album are probably "Coma Black,"
mhm,
"Valentine's Day,"
mhm.
uh, "Nobody's," "Death Song," and actually, let me throw "In the Shadow of the Valley of Death" and "Target Audience" in there too.
Hmm.
Like those are probably my favorite and underrated, but I also really like King Kill 33.
Hmm. I was about to mention that, especially
Um,
the chorus.
yeah, that one's really good, and although it is a weird song for him to start including in his live set, that was odd, but sure, fine.
Yeah.
um, the I think the only ones I don't like are, and I've said this numerous times, I don't like Lamb of God that much. Although I have softened that hate over the years because I
Hmm.
actually do like when the song fully blossoms and it turns it with him doing the "Nothing's Gonna Change the World" part. I like that.
Hmm.
And then the weird keyboard bits. But like, God, I hate the beginning of that song. And then one of the later ones that uh Fall of Adam.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think Fall of Adam, yeah.
yeah, I don't like that one that much.
Yeah.
That almost feels like a throwaway song. And Count to Six and Die is fine, but it is what it is. And I do like the cover of Suicide is Painless.
Hmm.
And Burning Flag, as you mentioned, is great.
Hmm. Yeah. I think A Place in the Dirt would probably be my least favorite song.
I like that song.
I like it. No,
He
you know what? I mean, it's like one of my lesser favorites, but I still like it. I kind of agree with you. Gotti God's kind of like, yeah,
I'm actually not a big fan. I Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm not a big fan of the love song. The
yeah. Love
"You like
songs.
your guns, God, government, fuck yeah."
Yeah,
I'm good.
I heard when I was editing all the live stuff from like 2000, 2001. You have no, you can I can't count how many times I heard that all the time. I can understand why you wouldn't like it.
It just seems like such a basic song for him to write. Like it doesn't seem like there's a lot there.
Hmm.
Um, which I could almost say for Burning Flag, but Burning Flag's a bit more fun and there's a
Hmm.
bit more energy to it. And similarly, although I do like it, is Crucifixion in Space. Um, but I was very excited when I saw him live in 2001 because he didn't do the stilt thing. And I'm sure you've seen it in video. He was wearing the dress thing and he elevated that way.
Hmm.
But he did that to Crucifixion in Space, and that was super cool to see. Um, yeah, I don't believe he ever did Place in the Dirt live. Though
No.
I know he did in the Valley of the Shadow of Death a few times live, and that was
Hmm.
cool. And I'm still waiting for that one show where they did President Dead to pop up in full. I'm sick of the 45-second clip that floats around.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, during this time, for those who are unaware, I actually didn't know at the time, but I later found out through Internet Archive that when the tour was going on for for the Guns, God, and Government tour, if you went to Manson's website at the time, you could download 45-second clips of the show, and you'd be able to see like it would have like audience, you'd see like snippets of uh, the songs that were played live, which proves to me that all the shows of the Guns God Government tour were filmed in full. That pretty much confirms it. Who has them in the archives? I don't know.
Yeah, because I thought because based on the stuff he had previously done, when Guns, God, and Government came out, I thought it was going to be like the last two DVDs or VHS tapes. Like I thought it was going to be a live show mixed in with a bunch of backstage footage, but that's not what we got. So I bet that footage exists.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um, but yeah, I've wanted to see the live full version of President Dead for some time now because that's the only time they ever played it was in Dallas.
Hmm. And I don't think I even have it in my audio archives. So,
Yeah, no, the audio version has never been leaked either. Like it's just that little clip.
man, that I would love to see that for sure. Uh, but yeah, yeah, Hollywood. Going back to Hollywood, um, definitely a lot of favorites with Manson fans, and to me, it's definitely my fifth favorite album for sure, and I'll still stand by it.
It's
A lot of
also it's also and as much as we just both said it's in our top 5 but not our favorite, it's one of the easier Manson albums to give somebody as a starting point.
hmm
Like it's a good gateway album because it's hard to give somebody Antichrist or Mechanical because they're never going to see that again.
no.
Whereas Hollywood, you can kind of be like, yeah, you're going to get little bits and pieces of stuff like this again.
Hmm.
Um, and it is in certain ways a bit more theatrical in certain like ways. Um, so I think it's a good starting point for people. Uh, at the same time, this I believe can't remember if it was during the tour or not, but basically, if you went on Manson's website at the time and you solved a puzzle, your your prize for solving the puzzle was a download of Diamonds and Pollen, which was a bonus track from around this time.
Hmm.
And this was also I don't think it was a if it was a studio recording, it wasn't a good quality studio recording, but he also covered the Doors 5 to 1 around this time, which you can find if you
Correct.
look around for it.
Hmm.
And there's also this is also when he did the acoustic cover of Sick City from Charles Manson. And I think that's it for like outtake stuff
Hmm.
or B-sides.
Uh, yeah. There was actually, believe it or not, I don't know how many songs they recorded together, but I don't know if it was, I think it was during the recording of Hollywood, Manson and John Five actually recorded, to my knowledge, an entire session of songs that only a couple songs have leaked from those sessions, but they recorded a whole bunch of songs
Yeah, I remember
together.
seeing those. I remember seeing a few like clips and stuff, and that was stuff I had never heard before. Because I remember sending them to you, and like, but
Mhm,
you had heard them before. I was like, I have never seen this stuff before. But
mhm,
yeah, I would love to if it was of good enough quality. I would love to hear outtakes from Hollywood to see what got left on the cutting room floor.
mhm. Yeah, because it was some of the stuff, especially that John Five collaborated on, were very, very out there. Some of it was,
Yeah,
especially.
yeah.
So,
They felt like they were full because this was John Five's first proper piece of being in Manson, and like they felt like they had a lot they were working with. Like there was a lot of good ideas. Like not everything on Hollywood was a winner, as I've already
mhm,
mentioned, but there was a lot of really cool ideas there. And so I would be curious as to what else was there.
mhm. For sure, for sure. And since we're on the subject of Hollywood, guess we could talk about the Guns God Government video that came out a couple years after. No,
Mm.
maybe a year after the tour. Uh, I like this DVD, but I agree with you that it's definitely not the best of the three videos.
I don't remember the track listing off the top of my head. Is there anything weird on it?
Uh, they played, let's see, of course, they played Crucifixion Space. Uh, I don't think so, but
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if this was like one of the ones where they, because I remember he did there's a live recording of Go God Eat God I've seen floating around a couple of times. I wasn't sure if that was from this or something else.
I think it was from something else. Yeah. But I think my favorite live show from this era would probably have to be the Universal Amphitheater show from California, 2001,
Mm.
which was actually a pay-per-view recording.
And what makes that one stand out for you?
It was pro shot. They were definitely on point. If you hear unfortunately, the version you hear on uh YouTube, on one of the versions had like overdubbed audio. I think from like different, because the problem with this DVD is that it seemed like all over the place. Like you would hear a show, but it wouldn't be from that specific show you were watching the audio of or the
Oh,
video.
okay, got you. So they were
So I
picking and
think,
choosing.
yeah, the Blu-ray version was sort of like that, and the only way you could hear the original version was the audio version. But that show is really good, especially when Madson's like being brought in by those like women, at the
Mm.
beginning. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen bits and pieces of like a lot of the shows you posted, but I've also seen bits and pieces of other like pro shot ones too, especially from these eras because that's where the for the most part it's what I listen to. But
mhm. Uh, for stuff that's not pro shot, I think because this was the second time that was it the second? Yeah, it was the second time that Manson played Ozfest, which is the time you saw them
yep.
in 2001. And I think the Tinley Park show from 2001 that I posted, that would probably be my favorite show. And I got a lot of comments from people who said that they were at that show, and people were like, "Oh, I was at that show. That was one of Manson's best shows." And I have to agree.
Yeah, they were definitely on point at that port at that period of time. Like they were a force of nature when I saw them live, and I loved it. Still one of my favorite live sets I've ever seen.
Yeah, I have a recording of the show you're at. Unfortunately, it's actually one of the worst show recordings.
Excellent, perfect. That's like case in point for Connecticut.
Yeah, it sounds. One of the comments said, "Oh, I love this Manson set of like industrial electronics."
Yeah, just noise.
But I could kind of faintly hear it, and from what I could tell, it was excellent. So it's the memory that counts, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
100%.
so yeah, what would you say is your other than the show that you watch? What would you say is your favorite show from this era, if you were to pick one?
Um, there's a later one where they started. How the tour did the tour go into 2001, 2000? Sorry,
Yes.
2002.
No.
Okay, so maybe it's the end of 2001. It wasn't an Ozfest show, but they started bringing in more of the deeper cuts, and I remember they brought in the Shadow of the Valley of Death, and that might have been one of the ones where they played Born Again,
Hmm.
and like and not King Kill, and it was also one of the ones where they played Valentine's Day, and so having those songs be like songs that I really like hearing them live was a whole big trip. But I can't remember what specific shows. But yeah, just the later ends of the tour where they started doing those songs was I was a big fan of.
for
I
sure.
also
And
wish I had been a part of that when they toured in 2000, and it was them, Union Underground, Godhead, and Professional Murder Music. And there might have been a fifth band, but I can't remember.
I didn't know Professional Murder Music played with Manson. That's new
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, they were like the opening band. Um,
Huh.
but I can't. I almost feel in the back of my head that there was another band on there, but I can't remember. But just to I because I never got to see Godhead. I had a chance to see them in like 2005. They played
Hmm.
with the Dreaming, and I should have gone, but I didn't go because so I would have been able to knock the Dreaming and Godhead off my list. But neither of those are going to happen now.
Uh, yeah, I actually had the pleasure, and I didn't know this, but the singer of Godhead, Jason Charles Miller,
Yeah.
he's actually an anime voice actor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so one of the anime conventions I went to with my buddy, he was a guest, and I had the pleasure of meeting him. He's a very nice guy. Uh, I think I talked to him briefly about Manson, and he said it was interesting working with Manson, on the whatever the album that Manson produced or whatever.
2,000 years of human error.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty chaotic. I think he mentioned that the recording sessions were so. Yeah,
I
take that
that's
as
that's still my favorite Godhead album. It's really good.
I don't think I've ever heard that album front to back.
It's worth the listen.
I think,
Most of their stuff up to that point is worth a listen. That Power Tool, Stigmata, and Nothingness are really good. Evolver's all right, but it's a little different. And then they went a little too mainstreamy with Shadowline, but it's still okay. Like it was like they tried to capture an alternative metal sound, but it was 2005. um, but but yeah, no, 2000 Years of Human Error is definitely worth checking out front to back.
yeah, I'll make sure to pick up a copy next time I'm at a record store for sure.
Do it. I think you could probably buy it on Discogs for like $1. Um, but yeah, so that is going to bring to a close this first episode about Marilyn Manson. If you made it this far, say so in the comments. I bet I'm not going to see any comments. Yeah, prove me wrong. Do it. Um, but yeah, so we will be back sometime soon for a follow up. But until then, thank you for watching, and hit the subscribe button because I never tell anybody to do that, but do it. Hit the subscribe button. But all right, see you guys
2000
later.
subs, 2000 subs by the end of the year.
That's not going to happen. But yeah, see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.